Hey guys, my name is Gabby Kokenda, and today I'm going to be sharing with you information regarding concept of definition word maps. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly is a CD word map? A CD word map is also known as concept of definition word map, and it is a visual organizer that promotes vocabulary development by engaging students to think about terms or concepts in several ways. Most word map organizers engage students in developing a definition, synonyms, antonyms, and a picture for a given vocabulary word. In fact, this strategy, developed by Swartz and Raphael, was to draw learners' attention to the category to which a particular word belongs, the defining characteristics of the word, and some examples of it. How to create a CD word map. The first step in creating a CD word map is identifying and writing down a major term or concept about a topic. You want to make sure you really narrow down this topic and come up with one major term. Once you know your major term, start brainstorming all the words you can think of, all the phrases you can think of, and all the examples you can think of that are relating to your topic. As you think of them, write them down. Some questions to think about when coming up with these terms include what it is like, and what are some examples. After thinking about these questions and writing down different terms, you can start creating your word map. To create your word map, you first put your target word into a central box. Remember, when you are creating a word map, concepts are circled. Once you write down the central term, then you can organize your map into 3 parts. These 3 parts can include what it is, which is the category, what it is like, different properties, and what are some examples of it, illustrations. I will show you a model on the next slide. Once you have completed your word map, you can now use the information provided on the word map to create a definition for your target word. Here is the general format of a CD word map. As you can see, we would put our central term in the middle. Then we would go above and classify or categorize it on what it is. To the side, we can put what it is like, and these are all different properties the word may possess. And below, we can write about some examples, and this is the time where we draw illustrations from it. On the bottom, we can leave a space for definition of what we think our key term is. CD word map activity. Now I'm going to discuss how I would implement a lesson that involves using a CD word map. Since the lesson that I found is very interactive, I'm going to give you more of the teacher view of it. Remember that class discussions are a great time to develop CD word maps. Today, the topic we're going to be focusing on is natural disasters. Where do we even begin? If my goal was for my students to gain a better understanding of what a natural disaster was and have them be able to define it, I would start by simply writing the word disaster on the board. I would then ask my students to come up with as many words as they can relating to disaster. This gives them time to brainstorm. and most students at this time will have a pretty good understanding of what a disaster is. We will use what they come up with to give us a good sense of what a thing has to be in order to be labeled a natural disaster. Since most students will know what disaster is, they will be able to draw conclusions and connections to come up with what a natural disaster is. Next, it is time to focus in. Focusing in and making connections. I now want to narrow in my students' focus and have them start making connections between disasters and natural disasters. In order to facilitate this discussion, I can ask them questions to get their thoughts flowing. These questions may include, what does it mean for us to say a tornado is a natural disaster? This starts making connections to disaster and natural disaster. I can then ask them a question such as, can you think of any more examples of natural disasters? And if so, what happens during these disasters? Most students will be able to at least list off a few of natural disasters. They may include blizzards, earthquakes, or even hurricanes. Most of them will have a good sense of the effects of these natural disasters. When students start brainstorming and coming up with the different natural disasters and explaining them, they are starting to accumulate knowledge, previous knowledge, that will help them define what a natural disaster is. I would have them then compare and contrast the things that are similar between all the different natural disasters they have stated and see how it all relates. By seeing how they all relate, they can start coming up with new words and phrases that help define natural disasters. After we brainstorm and come up with words that connect all the different meanings, we start filling in our word map. To start, we put natural disaster in this center box. We then move into what it is. After we fill in what it is, we move to what it is like. These may include people cannot predict them, they destroy things. And you can have your students fill this in. And their word maps may all look different, and that's okay. You also want them to put what examples are. Examples are more of illustrations, so that would include earthquakes, hurricanes, blizzards, or any other natural disaster that the students come up with. Once they fill in the word map, you then want them to use the information provided in the word map and have them come up with their definition of what a natural disaster is. Why are CD word maps useful? Concept of definition word maps are useful for many reasons. CD word maps help students develop their understanding of a specific word. They give students the opportunity to think about new terms or concepts in several different ways by asking the following questions: what it is like, and what are some examples? And last but not least, it helps students build upon prior knowledge and visually represent new information. CD word maps are great strategies because it's not just simply giving students the definition, but having them apply previous knowledge to come up with the definition on their own. When can we use CD word maps? Personally, I think word maps are a great tool and should be used often. There's not a specific time where it would be wrong to use one. We use CD word maps to assist students in acquiring new words for new concepts. When children do not have a sufficiently well-developed concept of a particular event or phenomenon, they will have difficulty understanding words used to define it. Therefore, when a student is at this point, I think it is a great time to use a word map. It's also important to remember that word maps can be used in all subjects and will have a lasting print on your students' understanding of certain words and concepts. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!